who's a little bit new to me in my network, Geoff Livingston, who got introduced through a couple different contacts. It's always great when more than one person is like, hey, this person should come and speak at your event. So we're really excited to have Geoff here. So there's this idea, Kaizen, which comes from Japan, from the Toyota production system, which is now called lean management, right? Which is all about how can we have continuous improvement, right? And so what Geoff is going to talk about today is AI-fueled continuous improvement. Take it away, Geoff.
How's everybody doing today? Thank you very much, Ben.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Really appreciate the opportunity. Yep. All right, so I got some friends here, and I'm so happy to see you, and people I haven't seen in a while as well, so very cool. One of the things I like about AI personally is that it can be very dramatic in the way that it can help out. One of the things I don't like about the AI conversation, oh, you tall guy to me, huh? Pull it up. So one of the things I don't like about the conversation today is there's a lot of hype, and there's a lot of fear. And what happens is that we either have a conversation about how AI is going to ruin the world, take all of our jobs, and destroy the earth, or how we're going to have all of our privacy taken, all these different things. And these are real risks, by the way. I used to work in a chief information security office for a major government agency, so I'm not dismissing that. But the other problem is that every single thing we hear from a tech company is overblown and not realistic, and then you use it and you want to throw, well, if I had hair, I would rip my hair out. But you know, it's a little bit much, right? And the reality is that we're in a weird conversation space with this technology. And that conversation is about slashing, reducing, optimizing. But there are people that are using this technology to innovate and create excellence and do incredible things. And one of my favorite examples of that is, anybody familiar with the suicide text hotline? It's kind of like the modern version of the call hotline for us older folks. So one of the things that they did with AI was they have people literally respond to every single text. But you can imagine they can't respond to everybody immediately. So they use machine learning techniques to prioritize which incidents are most likely to result in an actual moment, if you would, and then prioritize those with calls. And they found that they were able to dramatically save lives by doing so. And that's AI, right? Hey, we don't have enough humans to do this. In fact, not every human will necessarily recognize every single risky technology moment, right? That text. They may not see the language in there. They may be tired. Anybody ever tired at the end of the day and they get an email and they just read it wrong? I mean, I feel like I start every day like that. That's just life. So to me, I think the promise of AI and the reality of AI are not necessarily aligned, but if you want to use it for good, if you want to use it for innovation, it is there for us. And today I want to talk to you about a very pragmatic use case that every single nonprofit, where you're an association or where you're a true cause, can start today. And all you need is your LLM and your reader and your CRM, and that's it. And that's one of the things we really need to talk about is brass tacks. How do we get down to this stuff? I coach people on this stuff, by the way, every single day. I coach organizations on how to transform. I have a boot camp. I literally have people that I'm walking through AI every day. This is real stuff that you can use. I am not throwing AI agents at you or any hyperbole about the future. So what is continuous improvement? I mean, first of all, we have to look at it like something that Netflix does to us all the time. Anybody watch a program and you get that thumbs up, thumbs down? Yeah. Okay. And what do? Does anybody here actually rate it? I think it's worth rating it because I get better stuff for it. But that's an example of continuous improvement. How about Amazon? Reviews, all that stuff, your purchase history. These are classic examples of AI, right? And that horrible social network that serves us all those horrific same content pieces about what's going on out there today. I don't know about you, I've had to reset my Instagram algorithm 3 times in the past 9 months because of what's happening down at the White House. You know, just so I could stop getting inundated with these horrible videos and people ranting. That's also their idea of continuous improvement. I wouldn't say that it is, but what we get is more and more of what we want when we receive continuous improvement. And large tech companies today go through thousands of iterative cycles every year. Now you must be saying to yourself right now, if you're like me, hi, we're 20 people, we're 10 people, we're not doing that. You don't have to do that daily, you don't have to do that weekly. But you can do it monthly on 1 or 2 touch points with your clients, with your members, with your beneficiaries. And in doing so, you can use AI to actually go through the feedback and find the patterns and find places where you can improve your programs and help people. Or maybe find out what's kind of got your donors a little bit in a twist, right? Or why are our members not responding to this email? Why are they not responding to this program? Maybe there's something missing, right? If we're not getting that feedback, that's a problem. And so I think what we need to do is bring iteration down to a reasonable level. And that's the whole hypothesis. I speak English, I swear, on Wednesdays. But that's the hypothesis of what I'm talking about. We can do this. We can do this. So some of the things that you can get as a result of that. How about a 35% increase in satisfaction in whatever program you decide to target? Who would like that today? That's just by doing this monthly. Okay? Anybody do annual reviews with your stakeholders? One of the things that I saw with the companies we were working with at this company I was at called eValueServe, we had a whole bunch of international banks and we had some nonprofits like the Gates Foundation, was people moved off the annual to a quarterly type of review because of the way the pandemic was changing the way business happened. I think that's become the norm now. But we can also move off of that just because we're smaller, medium in size. We don't have to sit there and just go annually. We can do that monthly, especially with our critical programs. How about a 60 to 80% reduction in identifying key moments that matter to our various stakeholders, simply by asking the AI to analyze the patterns or to take that transcript from the call with your top donor or one of your beneficiaries and putting it into the LLM and ask it to recognize the patterns. And by the way, you should have been in that call so you can also see where it said it was wrong. If you let the AI go on its own, it's bad. I did appreciate that, Kat. 100% appreciate that. Humans make AI work. AI does not make AI work. So here's an example. Charity Water, everybody's familiar with Charity Water, right? I hope. Everybody familiar? Yes? No? All right. All of us old people are because they were a social media darling about 10 years ago. And they're still very good with technology. They're a very smart charity. And one of the things that they do is they reach out to their beneficiaries quarterly. And keep in mind, you're talking about in developing countries throughout Africa, Latin America. And they're finding out what's going on, what are the issues, are they experiencing problems with their implementations, and they're able to recognize when some of the wells that they're building, for example, are maybe at risk and may start malfunctioning 6 months earlier than they would have with an annual cycle. 6 months earlier. And they're keeping people happy and with water, which is a massive problem globally, as we know, as a result of that. So there's a direct beneficiary impact just using AI. And they use those AI to find those patterns in LLM. It's changed the way research works to a continuous dialogue. Imagine every time you have somebody visit your site and perhaps give you a small donation. If you sent them a survey and said, what program matters most to you? Instead of just saying, thank you, here's how you sign up for more. Would you like to make your donation monthly? By the way, who gets annoyed by that? I do, I'm sorry. You know, like maybe ask me why I cared and donated. Do things like that. It's just smarter, better. You can go beyond satisfaction to real outcomes. What outcomes matter the most to your beneficiaries? How can you get more of that to them? What about members if you're an association? I mean, that's nonprofit work, right? Especially if you're a trade profession. How many of these federal associations right now? My God, Imagine the feedback they're getting right now. Imagine what they could do better if they could just hear what specific action would make the most difference in their advocacy efforts. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff here. And I do have this deck on my LinkedIn, so you don't have to take notes, but I'm not going to read it to you. I'm assuming you can read as well as I can. I will say that the challenge is it takes time, and the time is not necessarily the time that you think it is. It's not setting up the technology. The technology, you probably already have it set up. Everybody here have an LLM? Yeah, Gemini, Claude, maybe that evil Sam Altman ChatGPT. I have all three, of course, because I'm a nerd. Everybody here have Otter or Read AI, those types of things, Firefly. Everybody here use an email marketing platform. Does it have automation? You have the recipe tools. This is a very pragmatic use case. What it takes is rethinking about the way you interact. It takes the commitment to hear this instead of saying, my program is fine. We'll talk about it in January after we get our annual survey. It takes committing to hearing about it every month. It takes commitment to building the process out so that the feedback is actually incorporated. And here's the real trick. It takes testing. So you hear an innovation. How many times have you heard a good idea and you tried it and it failed? I mean, all the time for me, all the time. Anybody A/B test their emails? Are you sometimes surprised by which one wins? I am. But that's why we test, right? How many times does Google launch an algorithm for search? Daily. And how quickly do you think it gets thrown out if it's not getting the responses? Real fast. So we have to be willing to test new approaches, and if it's not working, we have to be willing to let it go and accept it not as perfection, but as testing and trying to commit to ongoing improvement, ongoing innovation. And I personally try to live like that. Otherwise, I don't think I'd still be adopting technology at my ripe old age. But the thing is, this is the world we live in, and that's AI. The reality is AI tools should be disposable. I think a year ago, ChatGPT was the best LLM. I can safely say to you today that it's not. I can safely say to you that most developers and most business accounts today in America are using Anthropic. It's a plurality, it's not a majority, but they're beating OpenAI hands down. And nobody would have thought that was possible a year ago. This stuff changes real quick. Best image generator, we heard about Midjourney today. We hear a lot about Adobe Fireflies. I think it's Nano Banana. Anybody use Nano Banana yet? Anybody know what I'm talking about? All right, what's Nano Banana? Who owns it? Google. Weren't they the dogs of AI 2 years ago? Here they are, man. So it changes real quick. Make it disposable. Here's a quick little case study. Khan uses monthly feedback, not daily, not weekly. And they get it from both the teachers and they get it from the students. And the things that they focus on with the improvement based off the trends is what's going to best encourage people to learn, the pedagogy, strengthen it, right? And they can't address every UI issue on their page with the AI. They just don't have the time. They don't have enough people. I mean, I know that, I think are they foundation? I'm not sure. But they're a little bit different than your traditional 501c3. I think they get a little more money in. But they're still not a corporation in the traditional sense. Do not have the resources. So they focus on what matters. I think it's really important. So a couple of recommendations there, simple testing, monthly, basic feedback loops. Just choose the 1 or 2 points that matter most. And here's an example of how you can start with tools. You can use Google Forms and Sheets, Otter AI, your existing LLM and CRM. Anybody here use Zapier? If this, then that kind of a thing. There's another one called make.com, which has got a kind of a fancy user interface. You can just use these tools to get this stuff going. And so these practical first steps are most important. Just making sure that you have the willingness to have a deep dive conversation and are willing to take that inventory of your program and are willing to improve. There are some pitfalls. We've already talked about one of them, which is accepting AI LLM input as verbatim. If you were trained on Reddit and X, would you be sane? Okay, I don't know why people take what they're getting out of there, cutting and pasting that and going with it, right? And you do see it. It's pretty funny when you see people do that. So definitely review this stuff. And one little trick I'm going to give you today, anytime you ask the AI to analyze anything, ask it for a percentage. What is the percentage that this is actually correct? A veracity score, if you would. And you'll be really surprised. It will give you a score for everything it recommends you. This is 90% likely to be correct. This is 65% likely to be correct. This is only 45% likely to be correct. Do you know why it does that? It's literally a calculator trying to give you the answer you want to hear most based off its training data. So finding out what it thinks the probability of it being accurate is actually really quite helpful, because then you can take that answer, maybe research it and find out how good it is. I got 2 minutes left, so I'm going to power through. Build the capabilities, very critical. The capacity, you should be patient with yourself. You know, first 2-3 months, just kicking the tires, seeing what results come out of this thing. Don't even necessarily have to try to innovate it, just see what the answers are. There should be some Captain Obvious answers coming out of it, like why didn't we think of that? Or we knew that already. We should just do something about that. But then moving forward, you know, be honest with the timeline and expect real results within the first 6 months. And by the way, I did see that MIT study where it says 95% of all AI implementations fail to return ROI. I will have you know that that study was taken of CEOs of large companies, 55 of them, in a subjective interview with one data point, which was, are you making money after 6 months? And these guys don't even implement or manage these programs. They're like managing investors and 10,000 employees and all that stuff. So if you read the study and actually read the study, even the people that are the researchers say that this is not complete and invalid and not scientific. So figure out what your outcomes are, figure out what matters most to you, start where you are, ask yourself the hard questions, and do it. Continuously improve. It's a great thing. It feels better. And you'll see, oh my God, this AI stuff actually works for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, man. Yeah, I think one of the things that I've tried to get a lot of just anyone that will listen